Hi, welcome back. Now let's pick up where we left off. We found this height to be 8. Now that we know that it's 8, and that's actually our 3, 4, 5 triangle, just twice as big. So we know that 3 squared plus 4 squared is 5 squared. And that's a very popular triangle. So anyway, we know that the base is 12 by 12. We're kind of assuming it's a square because they didn't tell us. And then the height is 8, and then we're going to divide by 3. And that should give us the volume. So let's do it. 12 times 12 times 8, divide by 3, 384 feet cubed. Now just to double check to make sure I put it in there, 12 times 12 times 8, divide by 3, because it's pointy, 384. Okay, next one. Now this was an interesting one. It says leave in terms of pi. So that's exactly what we're going to do. They said leave in terms of pi. So the volume is the area of the base times the height divided by 3. And up here in our formulas, a cone, we should memorize this, pi r squared h divided by 3. Pi r squared h divided by 3. Now it is a little tricky. It looks like they're giving the diameter of 10. And so we want the radius to be 5. So we have 5 squared. And the height, that is an altitude. So this kind of looks like our coins. If the coins were off to the side, all we need is to make sure it's an altitude. So if I dropped an egg, it would land at a 90-degree angle. And notice that would create a rectangle. And opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So if I know that's 16, this is also 16. So my height is 16. Okay. So it's really something to type in the calculator. I have 16 times 5 times 5 times pi, divide by 3. And they said, please leave your answer in terms of pi. So that just means get this to a number or the fraction in simplest form. So let's do that. 16 times 5 divide by 3. Ooh, I get a decimal. So I want to hold off on turning it into a decimal. So it's 16 times 5 times 5. I get 400 all over 3. And that technically is the way to leave our answer in terms of pi. Now let's press on. On the back here, I have this question. Volume of the cone to the nearest tenth. Okay. So the volume of a cone, pi r squared h divided by 3. The radius is 6. Ooh. Looks like the slant height is 16. So there's not one this hard on the test, but this is a really good practice. It says, once again, that this is a right triangle. And I know Pythagorean says that this number, and I don't know the height, and this number, 16, I can use a squared plus b squared is c squared. Okay, so one length is 6, one length I called h, and the hypotenuse is 16 squared. So doing algebra, 256. Now the 36 is keeping h from being by himself. And so my answer for h, I have to take the square root of both sides. So I get h is equal to the square root of 220. Now, I need to plug this back in now that I know what h is. So going back up to the top, we had pi r squared h divided by 3. And we know the height is the square root of 220. And now we see why this probably will turn into a decimal. And they said, that's okay, just round to the nearest tenth. So staying on the track of my volume, I'm going to keep on going. I've got the square root of 220, which is 14.8, times my 6, times my 6, times the pi, divide by 3. 559.2, because it said to the nearest tenth, centimeters cubed. Perfect. Okay, well, my test isn't that hard, but let's hope that if you get a question like that, you can at least be prepared for it. Now, this one is on the test. It's similar to our homework. We just have to do two things in one problem. So we need to find the volume of the whole item, and it looks like the bottom is a prism. So that would be base times width times height. So let's find that. That'd be 4.5 by 4.5 by 6. Okay, so we do 4.5 times 4.5 times 6. Okay, so the volume, let me make sure this is sectioned off. The volume of the bottom of the, maybe we'll call it a house, is 121.5 feet cubed. Let me do that again. 4.5 times 4.5 times 6. Okay, perfect. Now I have to find the pyramid on top, and that takes just a little bit of thinking here from drawing a picture. So it looks like it fits on top of my shape, and so if this is 4.5, this should be 4.5 because opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. And if this is 4.5, that's 4.5. So the volume of the pyramid should be base times width times height divided by 3. So the volume of this pyramid would be 4.5 times 4.5. That would be the base. And the height, boo, is 2.5. And I can't forget to divide by 3. This will be the area of the item on top. So let's do the math. 4.5 times 4.5 times 2.5, divide by 3. I get a decimal, 16.875 feet cubed. So to find the volume to the nearest whole number of the total object, I need to add these two together, the 16.875 and the 121.5 plus 121.5. Okay, so added together, I get 138.375, but they said to the nearest whole number. Okay, so the 3 would just keep the 8 and 8, so then I'm going to put 138 feet cubed. Very important. Definitely make sure, you may even want to watch this part of the video more than once because there is a question like that on the test. Now let's keep going. Another question on the test looks like this question, question number 9. So that's very important. And I actually may need to work this out on another piece of paper. I've got a little bit of room here, but if you need to use another piece of paper, that's fine. I want plenty of room. So it says the volume of a cylinder. So I'm just going to sketch a quick cylinder. The volume of a cylinder looks like that. And if the volume is 980 pi, we can substitute that where we see the letter V. So the volume of the cylinder is 980 pi. The height is 20. So the rest of the formula, pi r squared, and the h is 20. Okay. So we say to ourselves, what is keeping r from being by himself on one side? And we notice that this pi, we could divide on both sides. So I could divide both sides by pi, and those would go away. That's nice. And I'm also going to divide both sides by 20, and that goes away. And the nice thing is now r is by himself. Actually, r squared is by itself. And I'll just go ahead and divide 980 by 20. 980 divide by 20, 49. Okay. Ooh, that's nice. So I'm thinking I know the answer here. If I take the square root of both sides, I get 7. So the answer to question 9 is the volume of the cylinder would be 7. Now you could plug it back in to double check your answer, but I'm pretty sure we got it right. Let's do one more. I'm noticing when I looked at the test, there's a question like number 16. So I'm going to do that one. And there is a third video this time. So you may want to go and I will give you the answers to some of these. Now let's take a look. It says a plane section parallel to the base of a cone. So we've got some notes that tell us that whatever it is we stack is parallel to the base. So if a cone is made by stacking circles, then those two planes are parallel. So a parallel section to the base of a cone, that plane section is a circle. Thank you for joining us. I will, on the third video, go over the rest of the questions, 10 through 18. Good luck on the test.